Welcome to Crafted Nest, a place where simple recycled finds blossom into timeless rustic beauty. Here, we believe every object has a second life, and every corner of your garden can tell a story. Today, I'll take you on a warm journey filled with inspiring ideas you can easily recreate at home. Don't forget to subscribe to Crafted Nest and turn on the notification bell so you'll never miss the next wave of creativity waiting to inspire your hands and heart. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is the essence of transforming simple recycled finds into something extraordinary for your garden. Imagine walking outside in the early evening and being greeted by the soft glow of lanterns made from ordinary mason jars. They dangle from tree branches or line your pathways, creating a dance of light that feels timeless and peaceful. This is the magic of rustic mason jar lanterns, taking what once lived in a kitchen cupboard and giving it a second life under the open sky. The beauty lies in their simplicity. Each jar tells a story, perhaps once filled with jam or pickles, now reborn as a gentle source of light. All you need is a bit of rope, some recycled lace or fabric, and a small LED candle. Tie them securely, hang them where the breeze can play, and suddenly your garden transforms into a place of quiet wonder. There is also a deeper joy here: sustainability. By reusing glass jars instead of buying plastic lanterns, you keep waste out of landfills and bring history into your home. Each chip in the glass, each tiny scratch, adds character. Instead of uniform perfection, you gain uniqueness, a warmth that mass-produced decor can never replace. You can place the jars along a garden path to guide evening strolls, or suspend them above a rustic table for shared dinners outdoors. Combine them with vines, flowers, or even simple wooden benches to craft a setting that feels like poetry made visible. This idea proves that charm does not demand money. It only asks for imagination, patience, and a willingness to see beauty where others see discard. When the night falls and those jars begin to glow, your garden will speak a language of comfort and nostalgia, an embrace of light and memory woven together. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is how a simple corner of your outdoor space can become a sanctuary of peace. Picture an unused nook on your patio, once forgotten, now reborn with touches of rustic charm. A weathered bench, a few faded cushions, and some potted plants in reclaimed tins. Suddenly the space feels alive, like a whisper of nostalgia blending with the fragrance of flowers. Creating a vintage patio nook is less about perfection and more about stories. Each piece of furniture carries a history. A chair that once stood in a family dining room now invites you to rest under the open sky. A crate that once carried fruit becomes a side table for a jar of fresh herbs. These recycled treasures do more than decorate. They connect your present with echoes of the past. The secret is layering textures and materials. Mix wood with fabric, metal with greenery. Let climbing vines embrace the pergola, casting playful shadows on the ground. Place an old lantern or a weathered jug where sunlight can dance upon it. Small touches like these add warmth and depth, turning ordinary afternoons into moments of reflection. Practicality also plays its part. Reclaimed furniture is durable, built to last through years, and when treated with natural oils or paints, it becomes resistant to weather while still keeping its rustic soul. You don't need expensive decor. Instead, seek character in the forgotten and charm in the aged. When you sit there with a cup of tea, listening to the gentle rustle of leaves, you'll realize that this nook is not just a design, it's a retreat. A place where time slows, where stories linger, and where sustainability meets serenity. It is a corner that speaks not through words, but through the poetry of comfort and belonging. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is how the humble act of laying reclaimed bricks can turn a garden into a storybook setting. Imagine stepping outside and finding yourself guided by a pathway that feels like it has existed for generations. Each brick holds a trace of history, scratches from time, colors faded by sun and rain. Yet together, they weave a new chapter beneath your feet. The charm of a reclaimed brick pathway lies in its imperfections. Unlike freshly cut stone, these bricks whisper nostalgia. Perhaps they once paved a courtyard or framed an old fireplace. By giving them a second life, you create not just a walkway, but a bridge between past and present. As you walk, the crunch of gravel underneath or the soft moss between cracks adds texture to the experience. Creating such a path is easier than it looks. Level the soil, add a simple base of sand, and arrange your bricks in patterns that speak to you. Herringbone for structure, basket weave for charm, or even random placement for a natural feel. Nature will help too, allowing grass or tiny flowers to peek through, softening the lines and blending the path into the garden. Beyond beauty, there is meaning. By choosing reclaimed materials, you reduce waste and honor craftsmanship of the past. Every uneven edge becomes a detail that makes your garden truly unique. Maintenance is gentle. Sweeping away leaves and occasionally resetting a brick is enough to keep it alive with character. When visitors arrive, their eyes will follow the pathway, drawn deeper into the heart of your garden. And as they stroll, they too will feel the quiet poetry of steps guided by history, leading into a sanctuary of blooms, light, and timeless rustic charm. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is how a simple wooden pallet, often left forgotten in warehouses or tossed aside after deliveries, can be reborn into something life-giving, a garden bed. Picture a corner of your yard where old pallets are stacked, repurposed, and transformed into frames for soil and seedlings. With just a little effort, you create not only beauty, but also nourishment. Eco-friendly pallet beds are the perfect marriage of sustainability and practicality. Instead of purchasing new containers, you rescue wood that still has years of life in it. The worn texture tells stories of journeys past, and now it frames the green promise of your plants. Herbs spill over the edges, vegetables rise with pride, and flowers bloom like brushstrokes on a natural canvas. The steps are straightforward. Choose clean pallets free from chemical treatments, secure them firmly, and line the interior with fabric to hold the soil. Once filled, these beds are easier to manage than traditional gardens. The height saves your back, the structure defines your plants, and the rustic wood becomes an aesthetic delight. This idea is especially empowering for small spaces. Even in a narrow backyard or balcony, a single pallet bed can host lettuce, basil, or bright marigolds. You nurture fresh food and fragrance right at home, teaching children that nature thrives even in recycled wood. Beyond practicality, there is a quiet poetry in these beds. They remind us that renewal is always possible, that what seems discarded can still bring abundance. As sunlight warms the leaves and shadows dance along the edges of the weathered wood, your garden becomes not just a place of growth, but a statement of care for the earth, for yourself, and for the future. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is the secret to discovering beauty in everyday objects. Imagine an old teacup, once used for morning tea or family gatherings, now cradling the tender life of a tiny plant. Placed on a windowsill or nestled into your garden, these rustic teacup planters whisper stories of the past while celebrating the freshness of today. The charm comes from their delicate imperfection. A faded floral pattern, a small chip on the rim, or the shine of porcelain softened by age. All these details add depth to your planter. When paired with succulents, herbs, or small flowers, the result is both whimsical and sustainable. Instead of discarding unused cups, you breathe new purpose into them. Creating these planters is a joyful, simple process. Fill the cup with a bit of gravel for drainage, add rich soil, and gently tuck in your chosen plant. Place them where sunlight falls naturally, whether on a kitchen shelf, balcony, or garden table. Over time, the plants will settle in, and the teacup will transform into a small yet enchanting piece of living decor. There is also a quiet symbolism here, the union of fragility and resilience. Teacups, once fragile vessels of warmth, become guardians of new life. They teach us that sustainability does not always mean grand gestures. It can be found in the smallest corners of our homes. When you see herbs spilling from a cup or a succulent blooming where tea once poured, you feel a gentle reminder that renewal is always within reach. Rustic teacup planters do more than decorate. They evoke nostalgia, inspire creativity, and encourage mindful living. They prove that even the smallest vessel can hold beauty, history, and the promise of growth. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is how a humble tin can, once discarded after serving its purpose in the kitchen, can be reborn into a vessel of life and joy. Imagine stepping into your garden on a sunny morning and hearing the flutter of wings, the chatter of sparrows, the melody of finches, all gathering around a simple feeder made from recycled tins. The beauty of recycled tin bird feeders lies in their honesty. Their dents, scratches, and faded colors do not hide their past. Instead, they become part of their charm, blending seamlessly into a rustic garden. Painted or left bare, each tin tells a story while offering a practical gift, nourishment for the birds that bring music to your space. Making these feeders is delightfully simple. Clean the tins thoroughly, smooth any sharp edges, and decorate if you wish, with paint, fabric, or rope. Punch small holes for drainage, tie sturdy twine, and hang them where sunlight reaches gently but safely. Fill them with seeds and wait. Soon, your garden will no longer be silent. It will hum with life, movement, and color. There is also a deeper poetry here. By reusing tins, you reduce waste and create something that nurtures not just your spirit, but also the tiny creatures that share your world. Birds repay your kindness with songs at dawn and the flutter of wings at dusk, turning ordinary days into experiences of wonder. The feeders also become focal points of your garden, catching the eyes of guests and reminding them of the beauty in reimagining what is often thrown away. Every chirp becomes proof that sustainability and joy can coexist. In this simple act, you not only decorate but also connect with nature, with history, and with the rhythm of life itself. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is how old wooden planks or forgotten boards can be transformed into voices for your garden. Imagine stepping into your outdoor space and being greeted not just by colors of flowers, but by words hand-painted with love on rustic signboards. They whisper, "Welcome," guide you toward herbs, or simply remind you to breathe. The beauty of rustic signboard decor lies in its imperfections. Uneven brushstrokes, faded paint, and rough edges become part of their charm, echoing a timeless story of craft and care. Each sign carries the character of reclaimed wood, lines of the grain, knots, and even small cracks that sunlight turns into poetry. Creating them is a joyful, mindful act. Choose old planks from pallets, crates, or fences. Sand them lightly, but leave enough texture for authenticity. Use simple paint or chalk, and write words that matter to you. The name of a plant, a message of encouragement, or even a family motto. Hang them from posts, lean them against walls, or mount them on fences where the eyes naturally wander. These signs are not only decorative, but also functional. They help organize your garden, pointing out herbs, flowers, or pathways, while adding warmth and personality. Guests who see them often smile, for words carry a certain magic when placed among nature. Beyond their practicality, rustic signboards embody sustainability. By reusing old wood, you honor its story instead of discarding it. You give language to your garden, making it a place not only of plants, but also of expression. Each time you walk past and read a sign, it feels like a gentle reminder from the earth itself to slow down, to notice, to be present. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is how the silent witnesses of past gardening, old rakes, worn shovels, or dented watering cans, can be given a second life as art. Imagine walking into your backyard and seeing a fence or shed wall adorned with these antique tools, no longer forgotten but celebrated as part of your garden's soul. Every scratch and patch of rust tells a story. Perhaps the rake once combed fields, the spade once planted trees, or the watering can quenched rows of vegetables. Instead of letting them rust away in a corner, you allow them to speak again, this time as decor that honors history while shaping beauty. The process is simple, yet deeply creative. Clean the tools, but do not erase their character. The patina is what gives them authenticity. Arrange them in patterns, crossed, lined up, or in the shape of flowers, on a fence, wall, or wooden frame. Add touches of greenery around them, letting vines weave between handles and flowers bloom below. The result is a rustic mural, both artistic and meaningful. Practical tips can enrich the design. Coat the metal lightly with clear sealant to preserve it, or add hooks to turn the wall art into functional storage for tools you still use. This blend of decoration and utility makes your garden space even more engaging. Beyond aesthetics, antique garden tool wall art carries poetry. It bridges generations, reminding us of the labor and care once poured into the soil. Guests who see it will pause, smile, and perhaps feel nostalgia for gardens of their childhood. It proves that beauty doesn't always come from newness. It often lies in honoring the old and letting their stories continue, painted across the backdrop of your living garden. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is how a simple glass bottle, once emptied of its drink, can become a guardian of life in your garden. Picture this, rows of herbs and vegetables flourishing, not because of constant watering, but thanks to upcycled bottles quietly releasing moisture drop by drop. They are beautiful, practical, and poetic all at once. The charm of glass bottle waterers lies in their dual purpose. They serve as both functional tools and decorative accents. Their transparent surfaces glisten under sunlight, creating sparks of color between leaves. Their shapes, whether slender or rounded, stand proudly as rustic sculptures while fulfilling the essential task of keeping your plants alive. Making them is straightforward. Clean the bottles thoroughly, fill them with water, and invert them into the soil near plant roots. The narrow necks control the flow, releasing only what the soil absorbs, ensuring hydration lasts longer. This method is especially valuable in hot weather or when you cannot tend the garden daily. The eco-friendly message is clear. Instead of buying plastic watering systems, you repurpose bottles that might otherwise be discarded. In doing so, you give glass a new life while reducing waste. Even mismatched bottles become part of the story, their varying colors and sizes adding charm and individuality to the garden. Beyond function, there is serenity in watching these bottles at work. They remind us of patience, how growth is nurtured slowly, steadily, without rush. They prove that sustainability can be both clever and beautiful. Visitors who see them will admire not just the ingenuity, but also the harmony between past use and present purpose. In every drop that falls, in every leaf that thrives, there is a quiet lesson. Beauty comes when we choose to care, reuse, and let even the simplest objects become part of nature's rhythm. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is how a forgotten piece of wood or an unused palette can be transformed into something both practical and poetic, a rustic outdoor bench. Imagine stepping into your garden and finding a place to pause, a bench waiting quietly under a tree, its surface worn by time but strong enough to hold your moments of rest. The charm of rustic benches lies in their honesty. They do not hide behind polish or shine. Instead, they celebrate imperfections. Cracks, knots, and uneven textures all tell the story of wood that once served another purpose. Now, repurposed into seating, it brings character and warmth to your garden. Building one is simpler than it seems. With reclaimed planks or pallets, a saw, and a few nails, You can shape a seat that reflects your own hands' work. A touch of natural oil or stain will protect it from the weather, yet still let the grain and age shine through. Place it beneath a tree, beside a flower bed, or near a winding path. The bench becomes both a design element and a personal retreat. More than just furniture, a rustic bench offers a place to linger. It is where morning coffee tastes better, where evening breezes feel softer, and where conversations flow with ease. Guests notice its authenticity, appreciating the way it blends into the garden rather than standing apart. On a deeper level, the bench is a symbol of sustainability. By reusing materials, you not only reduce waste but also craft something that endures. It reminds you that comfort doesn't need perfection, it needs presence. Each time you sit, you connect with the garden's rhythm. Quiet, grounding, and timeless. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is how forgotten scraps of fabric, once tablecloths, curtains, or dresses, can be reborn as graceful decorations that flutter in your garden. Picture a line of buntings dancing in the breeze, their pastel patterns glowing under sunlight, turning an ordinary patio into a place of warmth and joy. The beauty of shabby chic buntings lies in their imperfections. Each piece is different, each fabric holding memories of its past. Some may be faded, others chipped at the edges, but together they form a tapestry of charm that feels both vintage and alive. Their gentle sway catches not only the wind, but also the hearts of those who see them. Making them is as simple as it is satisfying. Cut fabric into triangles, squares, or any shape you desire. Sew or glue them onto a strong rope or twine. Mix patterns freely, florals beside stripes, lace next to plain cotton, because the mismatched harmony is what makes them beautiful. Hang them across fences, between trees, or along patios where sunlight can bring out their colors. These buntings do more than decorate. They create atmosphere. They make garden gatherings more festive, patios more welcoming, and quiet afternoons more whimsical. Children love their playful charm, while adults smile at the nostalgia they evoke. On a deeper level, fabric buntings remind us of resourcefulness. They show that beauty can be crafted from leftovers, that scraps can still hold meaning. In a world that often chases perfection, they whisper that uniqueness is enough. When sunlight filters through their colors and shadows dance on the ground, your garden feels less like a space and more like a celebration of life, stitched together from pieces of memory and imagination. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is how a pair of boots that once carried steps across fields or rainy streets can find new life as vessels of growth. Imagine them lined along a garden path, no longer walking but rooted in place, brimming with herbs, flowers, or succulents. Their scuffed leather, cracked rubber, or faded laces now frame the vibrant green of life. The magic of rustic boot planters is in their unexpectedness. Guests smile at the sight of them, charmed by the whimsy of old footwear transformed into blooming art. Each boot tells a story, the work it once endured, the journeys it once carried. By filling it with soil and plants, you preserve its history while writing a new chapter. Creating these planters is delightfully easy. Drill small holes at the bottom for drainage, fill the boots with gravel and soil, and nestle in your favorite plants. Herbs like thyme or basil thrive well, as do hardy succulents and trailing flowers. Place them on porches, pathways, or even indoors by a sunny window. The contrast of rugged boot and tender bloom creates a rustic poetry that feels both nostalgic and fresh. Beyond decor, there's a sustainable message here. Instead of discarding old footwear, you honor its use by giving it a second life. You remind yourself and others that creativity can turn waste into wonder, that even worn-out things still hold beauty. When sunlight catches the flowers spilling from a boot, the scene becomes unforgettable. It is playful yet meaningful, a celebration of resourcefulness and imagination. Rustic boot planters prove that gardens are not only about plants, but also about stories, story-stitched, laced, and now blossoming with joy. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is how simple wooden crates, once used to carry fruits or bottles, can be reborn as rustic shelves that both organize and beautify. Imagine a wall in your garden that once felt plain, now alive with rows of crates, each holding herbs, flowers, or treasured objects, basking under the daylight. The charm of reclaimed crate shelves lies in their practicality married with nostalgia. Each crate carries the marks of its past, scratches, faded lettering, or uneven tones that add depth and personality. Instead of polished perfection, you embrace authenticity. In doing so, you create not only storage but also a story. Building them is straightforward. Clean the crates, sand any rough edges, and if desired, add a protective coat of oil or paint. Mount them securely onto fences, walls, or simply stack them on patios. Fill them with herbs in terracotta pots, lanterns that glow at night, or books for lazy afternoons outdoors. With sunlight streaming across, they become part of your garden's poetry. These shelves also speak of sustainability. Rather than buying new furniture, you repurpose what once was overlooked. They remind us that value lies not in shine but in usefulness, that beauty emerges when we honor the old. Children delight in finding surprises within them, small plants, tools, or even tiny bird nests, and adults admire the cleverness of their transformation. More than function, crate shelves invite creativity. You can rearrange them with the seasons, shifting plants or colors, making your garden feel fresh without spending much. When the afternoon sun touches their edges and flowers peek from inside, your reclaimed crates stand proudly, not as discarded wood, but as living frames of memory, growth, and rustic charm. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is how forgotten pottery, once resting in cupboards or barns, can become timeless art for your garden. Imagine a cluster of vintage pots, some cracked, some faded, all carrying stories, now holding vibrant blooms and herbs under the embrace of the sun. Their weathered surfaces blend seamlessly with soil and greenery, creating an atmosphere of rustic elegance. The beauty of vintage pottery displays lies in their imperfections. A chipped edge tells of years past, a faded glaze whispers of hands that once touched it. Instead of discarding them, you let them bloom again, giving them purpose as vessels of life. Each pot becomes a frame, each plant a painting, together forming a gallery of nature and history. Creating such displays is as simple as it is soulful. Gather old ceramics from flea markets, thrift shops, or even your attic. Mix shapes, heights, and colors to create layers of interest. Cluster them in corners, arrange them along pathways, or group them on rustic shelves. Allow cascading plants to spill from bowls, herbs to rise from jars, and flowers to brighten worn clay. Under daylight, the scene feels authentic, lived in, and deeply personal. Beyond aesthetics, pottery displays carry sustainability at heart. By reusing old ceramics, you reduce waste and honor craftsmanship that once shaped them. They are not just containers but storytellers, turning ordinary gardens into spaces rich with history. Guests will pause, admire, and perhaps feel nostalgia when they see them. When sunlight touches these pots and plants sway in the breeze, you realize the garden is not just about growth, it is about continuity. It is where yesterday's vessels become today's beauty, blending memory with renewal in a quiet, poetic harmony. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is how simple strings of light, combined with touches of recycled fabric, can transform a plain garden into a sanctuary of warmth. Imagine stepping outside during the day, sunlight glinting off clear bulbs, the canopy above hinting at the glow that will come at night. Rustic string light canopies carry both charm and anticipation. Their beauty lies in simplicity. Glass bulbs strung across wooden beams, or trees form gentle curves overhead, softened by strips of vintage lace or faded cloth. In daylight, they sparkle like ornaments. At dusk, they awaken, casting golden light that wraps your garden in intimacy. They embody the poetry of transition, between day and night, between practicality and romance. Crafting them is easy and joyful. Choose sturdy string lights, preferably with warm bulbs, and drape them across posts, fences, or pergolas. Add recycled fabrics or ribbons for a shabby chic touch. Hang them slightly uneven for character. Even in bright sun, the bulbs catch light, creating a sense of presence, and when evening falls, they become stars within reach. Practical tips enhance their magic. Ensure safe outdoor wiring, hang them where branches won't tangle, and add simple hooks for easy removal during storms. Layer them above seating areas or pathways to create a canopy that invites gatherings, conversations, or quiet moments alone. Beyond decor, rustic string light canopies carry a feeling of community. They turn ordinary evenings into celebrations, gardens into living rooms under the sky. Friends and family gather beneath them, laughter echoing among vines and flowers. And when you look up, the lights remind you that beauty need not be grand. It can be as simple as a string, a bulb, and the will to reuse. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is how fragments of what was once broken, shattered ceramics, chipped plates, or old glass, can be reborn as accents of beauty. Imagine a garden where pathways glimmer with mosaic stones, or a planter rim shines with colorful shards, each piece telling a story of transformation. Rustic mosaic accents prove that even in brokenness, there is art waiting to be revealed. Their charm lies in imperfection. No two fragments are the same, yet when arranged together, they create harmony. The sun catches the colors, making them sparkle like jewels embedded in earth and wood. A cracked cup becomes part of a flower motif. A fragment of glass becomes a star in a pattern. What once was waste now becomes wonder. Creating mosaic accents requires only patience and imagination. Collect broken tiles, pottery, or glass from flea markets or leftovers at home. Smooth sharp edges, then arrange the pieces on stepping stones, tables, or walls. Use mortar to hold them in place, sealing with care so they last through rain and sun. The result is unique, personal, and deeply meaningful. Practicality blends with poetry. Mosaic stepping stones guide your feet. Mosaic planters frame your herbs. Mosaic tables host conversations. Each design is one of a kind, impossible to replicate exactly. That uniqueness makes your garden feel intimate, filled with personality and history. Beyond decor, mosaics remind us of resilience. They show that beauty does not demand perfection, but rather the courage to assemble fragments into something whole. When visitors see the shimmer of colors under daylight, they see more than craft. They see a message of renewal. In every shard, in every pattern, your garden whispers, broken things can still shine, and what is discarded can bloom again. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is how an old, forgotten slab of wood can be shaped into a centerpiece that holds not only objects but also memories. Imagine a weathered wooden table in your garden, its surface etched with lines of time, standing strong under the sun. It is not polished, not perfect, but deeply alive with character. The beauty of such tables lies in their rugged honesty. Each scratch and crack is a mark of history, of meals shared, of hands that once built or carried it. Now, as a garden table, it becomes a place where nature and nostalgia meet. Wildflowers in jars brighten its top, herbs spill gently from clay pots, and the scent of earth mingles with wood. Creating or restoring a weathered table is a journey of craft. Reclaimed wood from barns, pallets, or fences becomes the raw material. A few tools, some sanding for safety, and a light coat of oil or stain are all it takes to protect while preserving its aged look. What you end up with is not mass-produced furniture, but a one-of-a-kind piece that tells a story. Placed under a tree, beside a flower bed, or in the heart of a patio, the table becomes a gathering point. It invites morning coffee, afternoon journaling, or evening conversations with friends. Guests feel at ease around it, drawn by its authenticity and charm. Beyond function, a weathered wooden table embodies sustainability. It celebrates reuse, turning what might have been discarded into something timeless. When sunlight streams across its surface and shadows of leaves dance upon it, the table reminds you that beauty is not about perfection but presence. It is a canvas for life, waiting to hold your stories. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is how objects once built for utility, milk cans, buckets, or metal tubs, can find new life as vessels of beauty. Picture a garden where antique containers, weathered by time, now brim with flowers, herbs, and greenery. Their dents and patina tell stories of the past, while their new role celebrates renewal. The allure of antique metal planters lies in contrast. Cold, aged steel cradles vibrant life. The roughness of the container enhances the delicacy of petals and leaves. Sunlight bouncing off faded surfaces creates a rustic sparkle, making the scene both striking and nostalgic. Each planter becomes a dialogue between strength and fragility, past and present. Crafting them is simple yet rewarding. Clean the metal thoroughly, drill drainage holes if needed, and line with stones before adding soil. Choose plants that complement the container's character. Lavender in tall milk cans, trailing ivy in buckets, or herbs in shallow basins. Group them for impact, stacking sizes and shapes to create depth and personality. Practicality also plays a role. Metal planters are durable, surviving weather and seasons with ease. They resist breaking and, with a touch of natural oil or paint, can last for years while keeping their rustic charm intact. But beyond durability, they embody sustainability. Instead of discarding old containers, you elevate them into features that enrich your garden. Guests will admire their unexpected transformation, pausing to trace the dents and imagine their history. When sunlight strikes these planters and plants spill over their edges, you witness poetry, proof that resilience and beauty can coexist. Antique metal container planters remind us that even the toughest materials can hold life gently, offering both memory and growth in one timeless embrace. Observe, imitate, and modify. That is how even the quietest corner of a home can blossom into a rustic garden sanctuary. Imagine walking into your living room or kitchen and finding a small oasis, plants growing in vintage teacups, wooden crates, and recycled glass jars. Sunlight streams through the window, highlighting the natural greenery and rustic containers, looking vivid and realistic as seen by the human eye. The beauty of rustic indoor garden corners lies in intimacy. Unlike sprawling outdoor gardens, these corners are personal, tucked within your everyday spaces. A chipped ceramic bowl holding mint, an old wooden crate displaying succulents, or a glass jar nurturing ivy. All speak of creativity and care. They remind you that nature can be close, even in the busiest rooms of the house. Creating them is simple. Gather vintage or recycled containers, tins, jars, or teacups. Place them on shelves, windowsills, or corners where light naturally falls. Mix heights and textures for depth, trailing plants beside upright herbs, clay pots beside polished glass. Over time, the plants will spill, climb, and bloom, turning the space into a living artwork. Beyond beauty, these corners nurture well-being. Plants purify air, soften rooms, and bring calm to the mind. Each leaf unfurling is a quiet reminder of growth and renewal. In moments of stress, sitting beside such a corner feels like retreating into a small forest where the world slows down. Rustic indoor gardens also embody sustainability. By reusing old containers, you avoid waste while creating something unique. Guests will notice the charm, often asking about the history of a pot or jar, sparking stories and smiles. When sunlight filters through the leaves and shadows dance across wooden surfaces, you realize this is more than decor. It is a corner where memory, creativity, and nature live together in quiet harmony.